Jake Wilkins didn't think much of the letter when it first arrived. After all, what kind of government agency would use Comic Sans? But when the strange glowing envelope wouldn't burn, rip, or even crumple properly, he finally gave in and opened it. That's when Jake's summer took an unexpected turn. The letter was from something called the Galactic Academy of Extraplanetary Studies, and it congratulated him on being one of 10 teenagers from Earth chosen for the first ever Interstellar student exchange program. The kicker? This wasn't just a chance to study among the stars. Jake and his fellow Earthlings would be humanity's unofficial ambassadors, representing the entire species to the Galactic Empire. His parents were skeptical at first, especially his dad, who thought it might be an elaborate prank by Jake's older brother. But when an alien shuttle actually landed in their wheat field 2 weeks later, skepticism turned to outright panic. "Don't touch it," his dad yelled as Jake jogged toward the sleek silver craft, waving his arms like he was flagging down a lost UPS truck. "Dad, it's fine. They're the ones who invited me," Jake shouted over the hum of the shuttle's engines. The door slid open with a hiss, revealing a humanoid figure with 4 arms and an impressive collection of blinking gadgets strapped to its chest. Its head looked vaguely like a disco ball, reflecting the Kansas sunlight in 1,000 tiny sparkles. "Greetings, human Jake Wilkins," the alien said in a voice that sounded like a malfunctioning microwave. "I am Zorblat, your escort to the Galactic Academy. Please bring all necessary belongings and leave any weapons or biological hazards behind." Jake turned to his mom, who had been standing on the porch clutching her pearls for dear life. "Guess this is it, Mom. I'll call you if there's space Wi-Fi." The shuttle ride was surreal. Jake found himself seated next to a girl from India, Priya, who had been equally blindsided by her invitation. As the shuttle picked up more students from around the world, Tariq from Egypt, Sophia from Spain, Akari from Japan, it became clear that the Galactic Academy had no idea what diversity truly meant. They had selected 10 completely random kids who barely had anything in common. When the shuttle finally docked at the orbital station, Jake got his first glimpse of the larger Galactic Empire. The view through the window made his jaw drop. Massive starships the size of cities, glowing blue nebulas swirling in the background, and space stations shaped like everything from pyramids to jellyfish. Zorblat led the group through a series of increasingly confusing checkpoints, including one where a 3-headed customs officer confiscated Jake's backpack. "Why are you taking my stuff?" Jake demanded, watching helplessly as they tossed his prized stash of Pop-Tarts into what looked like a glowing incinerator. "The contents of this bag exceed the acceptable toxicity threshold for non-human species," the customs officer replied in perfect monotone. "Pop-Tarts are toxic?" Jake exclaimed, horrified. Priya snorted behind him. "To most galactic species, yes. To you, apparently not," the officer said, sounding vaguely disturbed. When the group finally arrived at the Galactic Academy of Extraplanetary Studies, they were greeted by a being that could only be described as an overly enthusiastic alien octopus wearing a tie. "Welcome, human students," the creature exclaimed, waving all 8 arms. "I am Toxa Vril, Dean of Earth Relations. On behalf of the entire Academy, we are honored to host you." Jake couldn't help but notice that the entire welcoming committee seemed tense. The aliens had arranged a small parade of floating banners, but the banners were clearly misspelled, with messages like "Good Look Earthkides" and "Donut Panic, you're in good tentacles." The humans exchanged looks but said nothing. Toxa continued, oblivious. "We have studied your species extensively and have designed your accommodations with care. Each dormitory comes with 2 hydration pods, a nutrient dispenser, and, Toxa paused, flipping through a holographic clipboard. "A chair. You use chairs, correct?" Jake raised an eyebrow. "Yeah, chairs are fine." The group was led to their dorms, which were strange, sterile rooms made entirely of smooth, glowing material. There were no beds, only pods filled with a viscous blue liquid. "Is this Jell-O?" Tariq asked, poking one of the pods. "No, it's your sleep chamber," Toxa replied cheerfully. "It will adapt to your biology and keep you perfectly suspended for maximum relaxation." Jake sighed. "I miss my bed already." Later that evening, the humans gathered in a common area to meet their alien classmates. The room was a cacophony of languages, shapes, and colors. Jake spotted a group of aliens that looked like walking tree stumps, a floating jellyfish wearing goggles, and something that resembled a sentient pile of slime. The humans' arrival caused a stir. Whispers filled the room as the aliens stared at the newcomers with a mix of curiosity and unease. One alien leaned over to another and muttered something in an unintelligible language. Jake smirked. Bet they're saying, "Look at those weird Earth kids." Sophia, the girl from Spain, grinned. "Let's give them something to talk about." She grabbed a nearby piece of fruit from the snack table, something that looked like a neon pink kiwi, and took a bite. Her eyes immediately watered, and she started coughing, but she forced a smile. "Delicious!" The aliens gasped, horrified. "That fruit is lethal to most species," one alien exclaimed, its voice high-pitched and panicked. Jake laughed. "Welcome to Earth's superpower, eating stuff that should probably kill us." And so began Jake's adventure at the Galactic Academy. Little did he know, his knack for chaos and Earth's unique biology would soon turn the galaxy's most prestigious school upside down. Jake's first morning at the Galactic Academy started off with a bang, literally. His alien-issued alarm clock didn't just ring. It emitted a blaring, high-frequency sound that sent him tumbling out of his sleep pod in panic. After a quick shower in the Academy's sonic cleansing unit, which felt like standing in a wind tunnel, Jake and the other humans made their way to breakfast in the sprawling central cafeteria. The dining hall was a marvel of interstellar architecture. Dozens of alien species sat at tables floating at various heights, their meals levitating on translucent trays. The walls shifted colors depending on the mood of the diners, creating a dizzying rainbow of hues. Jake couldn't tell if the design was meant to be calming or if it was just an intergalactic flex. As Jake stepped inside, he noticed the cafeteria staff, an assortment of tentacled and multi-eyed creatures, working behind a long counter that stretched the length of the room. A glowing holographic menu floated above their heads, listing breakfast options in dozens of alien scripts. The human students stood together, squinting at the menu. Priya tilted her head. "Does anyone here speak, whatever that is?" Jake shrugged. "I barely passed Spanish. I think we're out of luck." When it was finally their turn, one of the cafeteria workers handed Jake a tray with a plastic-looking container filled with a gray, gelatinous blob. It wobbled slightly, emitting a faint chemical smell. "What is this?" Jake asked, holding the container at arm's length. "It is nutrient paste," the worker replied, her voice a series of melodic hums that their translation implants turned into speech. "It contains all the necessary proteins, carbohydrates, and vitamins your species requires." Jake poked the paste with his fork. It jiggled. "It looks like someone sneezed into a bowl." Priya sniffed hers and recoiled. "Smells like an old shoe." Sophia leaned over. "Didn't they say this was specially formulated for humans?" "Yeah," Jake muttered, "but I'm starting to think their research was done by someone who's never met one." The group reluctantly sat down and attempted to eat. The taste was as bad as expected, bland, sticky, and faintly metallic. Jake took one bite and immediately pushed his tray away. "This is an insult to food," he said, shoving the paste toward Tariq, who made no move to eat his own portion. "I've had airplane food better than this," Tariq groaned. As the humans debated whether it was worth starving or choking down the paste, Jake suddenly remembered the bag of Flamin Hot Cheetos he had stuffed into his jacket before leaving Earth. He pulled it out triumphantly. "Guys, salvation!" he announced, holding up the bright red bag. The humans cheered as Jake tore open the bag, the smell of artificial cheese and chili powder wafting through the air. He popped one into his mouth, savoring the crunch and the burning heat. The other humans eagerly took handfuls, laughing as they passed the bag around. That's when the aliens noticed. Across the room, a tall, blue-skinned student with crystalline eyes pointed a long, spindly finger at the bag. "What is that?" It asked in a voice that sounded like chiming bells. Jake grinned. This is Earth's greatest invention. They're called Cheetos." The alien tilted its head, clearly intrigued. "What is that smell?" "It is offensive." Toxa Vril, the overly enthusiastic dean of Earth relations, appeared seemingly out of nowhere, his tentacles flailing. "Humans, what are you consuming? It is causing a disturbance." Jake held up the bag. "Relax, it's just a snack." Toxa snatched the bag from his hands and scanned it with a small device. The scanner immediately started blaring alarms, and a red light flashed on the screen. This substance is classified as a level 4 biohazard. It contains capsacin, a compound that is lethal to 87% of known galactic species. Tox's voice rose with each word, his tie slipping askew. Jake blinked. Wait, you mean the spicy stuff? This is harmless to humans. Tox's eyes widened in disbelief. You are telling me that your species ingests this toxin willingly? Priya laughed. Not just willingly. We love it. Toxa staggered back, clutching the bag like it might explode. This is madness. Capsacin is used as a chemical deterrent in warfare. And you eat it? Word spread quickly through the cafeteria. Aliens began crowding around the humans' table, whispering and pointing. Jake, always one for a little showmanship, grabbed another Cheeto and popped it into his mouth. He made a dramatic face, pretending to bask in the heat, and then wiped imaginary sweat from his forehead. This is nothing, he said casually. You should see us eat ghost peppers. The aliens gasped. Ghost peppers, one murmured. They eat spicy ghosts? Another alien, a gelatinous blob that quivered when it spoke, asked, what other toxins do humans consume? Chocolate, Sophia chimed in. It's poisonous to some animals on our planet. Alcohol, Tariq added. We drink it for fun. Caffeine, Priya said. Our entire planet runs on it. The aliens stared, horrified. One fainted on the spot, its many legs curling up as it collapsed into a heap. Toxa, meanwhile, had summoned the cafeteria staff and ordered them to confiscate the Cheetos. A small alien wearing a hazmat suit approached Jake's table with a pair of tongs, gingerly removing the bag as if it were radioactive. By the time lunch ended, the humans were the talk of the school. Rumors of their bizarre eating habits spread like wildfire. Some students whispered that humans could digest literal poison. Others speculated that Earthlings were immune to pain. Jake and the others didn't bother correcting them. As the humans left the cafeteria, Jake turned to his friends. Well, I think we made an impression. Priya smirked. Yeah, first day, and we've already scared half the school. Tariq chuckled. I call that a win. Meanwhile, Toxa stood in the corner, muttering into his communicator. Initiate a full review of Earth's dietary customs and add Cheetos to the restricted substances list. Little did he know, the humans had plenty more surprises in store. If Jake thought gym class on Earth was bad, what with dodgeballs aimed at his face and running laps under the blistering Kansas sun, he wasn't prepared for what the Galactic Academy had in store. At least Earth gym teachers didn't carry laser pointers and shout commands in 5 languages simultaneously. The humans gathered in the Academy's colossal gymnasium alongside their alien classmates. The space looked more like an Olympic stadium mixed with a high-tech weapons lab. Floating platforms, levitating rings, and obstacle courses stretched into the rafters. The walls pulsed with energy fields that shimmered like liquid light, and every few seconds, a metallic orb zipped through the air, emitting a loud zap as it narrowly avoided students' heads. Jake nudged Tariq. I think this gym has a higher budget than our entire planet, Tariq nodded. Yeah, I don't see any basketball hoops, just death traps. A massive creature resembling a sentient boulder lumbered to the front of the gym. Its voice rumbled like distant thunder. I am Instructor Grorax, your physical development coordinator. Today's focus will be on strength, agility, and survival. Survival? Sophia whispered, her eyes wide. Grorax slammed one of its stone-like fists into the ground, creating a small tremor. Human students, we have accounted for your fragile physiology and tailored today's activities to your limitations. Its tone suggested that limitations was a polite way of saying inevitable doom. The humans exchanged skeptical glances, but said nothing. Grorax continued, gesturing to the alien students. You will each be paired with a partner from another species for the combat trial. The goal is to subdue your opponent without causing permanent damage. Begin. Jake was paired with Earthlings, a Veltraxian who stood at least 9 feet tall and had an exoskeleton that looked like polished obsidian. Its forearms ended in razor-sharp claws, and its multiple glowing eyes blinked in eerie synchronization. Great, Jake muttered. I get paired with Darth Spider. Earthlings tilted its head. Are all humans so small? I was expecting more of a challenge. Jake scowled. Don't underestimate me, buddy. Around the gym, similar mismatched pairs were forming. Priya faced off against a gelatinous blob that seemed incapable of holding a solid shape. Sophia was up against a cephalonian, a telepathic octopus-like being that floated serenely in midair. Tariq found himself squaring off with something that resembled a feathery velociraptor. "Remember," Grorax bellowed, "no lethal force. Begin." Jake's first instinct was to run. Urklox's claws gleamed menacingly as it advanced, its exoskeleton clicking with each step. But Jake wasn't about to let himself look weak in front of the entire school. He needed a plan. He crouched slightly, raising his fists like a boxer. "Come on, big guy. Let's see what you've got." Arclox blinked all 6 of its eyes in confusion. "Is this a ritual? Why are you raising your appendages?" "It's called fighting," Jake said. "Humans are pretty good at it." Before Arclox could respond, Jake lunged forward and kicked it square in the shin, or what he assumed was its shin. To his dismay, his foot bounced off the exoskeleton with a clang, and he nearly toppled over. Arclox tilted its head again. "Fascinating. You used your lower limb as a weapon. Ineffective, but intriguing," Jake groaned. "This is going great." Meanwhile, the other humans were causing their own kind of mayhem. Priya, faced with a gelatinous opponent, simply grabbed a bucket from the corner of the gym and scooped it up. "I win," she declared, holding the bucket triumphantly. The blob gurgled in protest. "This is highly unethical." Sophia, up against the telepathic cephalonian, discovered that her opponent could anticipate her every move. So, in an act of sheer audacity, she started singing the most obnoxious Earth song she could think of, "Baby Shark." The cephalonian, overwhelmed by the repetitive melody, floated to the ground and covered its sensory appendages. "Make it stop," it begged. Tariq's velociraptor-like opponent lunged at him, but Tariq sidestepped and smacked it with a rolled-up towel he'd grabbed from a nearby bench. "This is just like wrangling chickens back home," he said, dodging another swipe. Back at Jake's match, Arclox was clearly toying with him. The alien swiped lazily with one of its claws, and Jake ducked just in time. Desperate, he looked around for something, anything that could help. His eyes landed on a rack of equipment by the wall. Jump ropes, weights, and a bucket of sand? An idea sparked. Jake grabbed the bucket and hurled its contents at Arclox's face. The sand scattered everywhere, coating the alien's eyes and joints. Arclox staggered backward, disoriented. "Direct hit," Jake yelled triumphantly. But his celebration was short-lived. Arclox shook off the sand and let out a guttural laugh. "You fight dirty. I respect that." Before Jake could respond, Arclox lunged forward and grabbed him by the shirt, lifting him off the ground effortlessly. "You are resilient," Arclox said, almost admiringly, "for a human." Thinking quickly, Jake reached into his pocket and pulled out his secret weapon, a leftover Flamin Hot Cheeto. He crushed it in his hand and blew the powder directly into Arclox's face. The Veltraxian recoiled, coughing violently as the Capsacin worked its magic. Jake dropped to the ground, landing awkwardly but free. Arclox stumbled backward, wheezing. "What is this, agony?" Jake smirked. "It's called flavor. You're welcome." When the matches ended, Grorax called the students to attention. The humans stood proudly, albeit a little battered, while their alien opponents looked various degrees of confused, impressed, and mildly traumatized. Grorax stared at the humans, his stony face unreadable. "Your methods are unconventional, but effective." Jake grinned. "Thanks. We call it thinking outside the box." Arclox approached Jake after class, still rubbing its eyes. "Human Jake Wilkins," it said. "You are a formidable opponent. I would like to learn more about your methods." Jake blinked. "You mean, like, be friends?" Jake blinked. "You mean, like, be friends?" "Sure," Jake said, extending a hand. "But just so you know, I fight dirty." Arclox tilted its head again, but clasped Jake's hand with surprising gentleness. "Noted." As the humans left the gym, they couldn't help but laugh about the day's events. "I think we just traumatized an entire gym class," Priya said. "Yeah," Jake replied. "And it's only Monday." Cultural Appreciation Day was one of the Galactic Academy's most celebrated traditions, intended to promote understanding and camaraderie among the Academy's wildly diverse student body. For most students, it was a day to showcase their species' art, music, cuisine, and customs. For the humans, it was a golden opportunity to prove they were more than just those chaos-loving primates who ate poison for fun. Jake and his fellow humans had been preparing for weeks. The Academy provided them with an entire section of the gymnasium for their display, but the humans had quickly turned it into something resembling a state fair. There were string lights strung up on hover poles, mismatched folding tables laden with various foods, and a karaoke machine Jake had somehow managed to jury-rig using alien technology. It was chaotic, colorful, and loud, just like Earth. "Okay, people, let's run through the checklist," Jake said, holding a clipboard that looked comically small in his hands compared to the massive alien tools the Academy provided. "Barbecue station?" he asked. Tariq was standing over a portable grill they'd cobbled together using parts from the Academy's engineering lab. Smoke and the mouth-watering aroma of sizzling meat wafted into the air. "Check. And I added extra spices. Let's see how the aliens handle some Kansas-style barbecue." "Music?" Jake continued. Sophia grinned, holding up the karaoke microphone. "Locked and loaded. I've got everything from the Beatles to Beyoncé queued up." "Snacks?" Priya chimed in, gesturing to a table overflowing with chips, cookies, and candy. "We've got everything from Oreos to, whatever Jake brought." "Flamin' Hot Cheetos," Jake said proudly. "You can't have an Earth showcase without the classics." The group nodded in agreement. Everything was ready. Now they just had to wait for the visitors. The humans didn't have to wait long. The first alien to approach their area was a tall, bird-like creature with iridescent feathers that shimmered in the light. Its name tag identified it as Takira, ambassador from Frelkson. "Welcome," Jake said, stepping forward with an exaggerated smile. "This is Earth. Well, not really, but, a little slice of it." Takira tilted its head. "Your area emits many smells. Some are intriguing, others are alarming." "That's probably the barbecue," Tariq said, holding up a platter of ribs. "Want to try?" Takira hesitated. "Is it safe?" "Totally," Tariq assured. "For humans, anyway." Kira took a tentative bite and immediately froze. Its feathers puffed out in alarm as it let out a high-pitched squawk. "This is spicy. My sensory nodes are ablaze. That's the point," Tariq said with a grin. "We call it flavor." Meanwhile, Sophia decided to kick off the musical portion of their showcase by belting out Bohemian Rhapsody into the karaoke mic. The surrounding aliens paused to listen, their faces a mix of awe and confusion. One gelatinous alien whispered to another, "Are they communicating distress?" "No," replied its companion. "I believe this is an art form. Fascinating." As Sophia hit the high notes, a nearby alien with sensitive auditory organs fainted. Toxavril, the Dean of Earth Relations, appeared out of nowhere, flailing his tentacles. "Humans, what is this noise?" "It's music," Sophia said defensively. "One of Earth's greatest achievements." Tox's tie slipped askew as he frantically adjusted the volume controls. "You could have warned us. Several species here are sensitive to sound waves exceeding certain frequencies." Jake rolled his eyes. "Next time, we'll put up a warning sign. Caution, awesome music ahead." As more aliens visited the humans' showcase, the barbecue became a major attraction. The humans encouraged everyone to try the food, with varying results. One alien resembling a giant sentient mushroom sampled a piece of cornbread and immediately began emitting spores in what appeared to be excitement. "This is magnificent," it declared. Another alien, a crystalline being named Zern, took a bite of a jalapeno popper and froze mid-chew. Its internal lights flickered erratically, and it let out a mechanical whirring noise. "What is this substance?" "Spice," Priya said. "It's what makes food interesting." Zern emitted a sound that could only be described as a robotic scream before collapsing in a heap. Toxa rushed over, shouting, "Humans, what have you done?" "It's just a jalapeno," Priya protested. "We eat these all the time." "It's a biohazard," Toxa wailed. "Do you have any idea what capsacin does to non-human species?" "Apparently it makes them less boring," Jake offered with a shrug. Things truly escalated when the humans decided to demonstrate Earth's dance traditions. Tariq pulled out his phone and started playing Uptown Funk, challenging a group of aliens to a dance-off. "What is this dance?" asked a lanky alien with 6 legs. "It's how humans celebrate," Tariq said, busting out some moves that wouldn't have looked out of place at a high school prom. "Come on, give it a shot." The alien attempted to mimic Tariq's movements, but ended up tangled in its own legs, crashing into a table. Undeterred, it tried again, this time managing a clumsy shuffle that the humans enthusiastically applauded. By the end of the song, half the gym was dancing, or attempting to dance, while the other half looked on in stunned silence. By the time the event ended, the humans' area was in complete disarray. The barbecue grill was smoking, the karaoke machine was sparking ominously, and several alien species were either fainted, glowing erratically, or covered in sauce. Despite the chaos, the humans had attracted the largest crowd of the day. As the group cleaned up, Toxa approached, looking both exhausted and exasperated. "Humans, you have introduced more chaos in one day than this academy has seen in a decade," Jake grinned. "So we're memorable?" Toxa sighed. "That is one way to put it." Later that evening, footage of the humans' showcase made its way to the Galactic Council, sparking a heated debate. "They are unpredictable," one council member said, "and their dietary habits are horrifying. But they are also innovative and creative," another countered. "Their barbecue alone could revolutionize galactic cuisine." The debate continued late into the night, leaving Jake and his friends blissfully unaware of how close they'd come to redefining the galaxy's opinion of Earth, one spicy rib at a time. After the fiasco of Cultural Appreciation Day, the humans had earned a reputation at the Galactic Academy: chaotic, unpredictable, and downright terrifying when food was involved. But for Jake and his friends, the fun was just getting started. The humans' dormitory shared a floor with the Cephalonians, a group of highly intellectual, telepathic, and notoriously uptight students. The Cephalonians, with their sleek, floating jellyfish-like bodies, prided themselves on their logic and emotional composure. They viewed the humans as little more than primitive chaos makers, and they weren't shy about expressing their disdain, telepathically, of course. Jake first noticed the hostility when he accidentally overheard a Cephalonian thought during breakfast. "Why must we endure the presence of these emotional mammals? Their primitive behaviors are disruptive to our academic focus." Jake, spoon halfway to his mouth, scowled. "Hey, I can hear you, you know." The Cephalonian's tentacles twitched in surprise. "It is not our fault your species lacks mental shielding. Perhaps you should evolve." That was the moment Jake decided to declare war. The humans' opening prank was simple yet effective. They filled the Cephalonians' nutrient dispensers with a concentrated Earth food dye, turning the usually transparent aliens bright neon pink. The next morning, the Cephalonians floated angrily into the cafeteria, their bodies glowing like radioactive jellyfish. Jake struggled to keep a straight face as they confronted him and his friends. "This is unacceptable," one of them exclaimed, its voice a mix of deep vibrations and chiming tones. "Do you have any idea how long it will take for this coloration to dissipate?" Jake feigned innocence. "Oh, sorry about that. Must have been a malfunction. Happens all the time on Earth." "Lies," another Cephalonian accused, its tentacles curling. "Your thoughts are loud and full of amusement." "Guess that's just another primitive trait," Jake said with a grin. The Cephalonians weren't about to let the humans have the last laugh. Using their telepathic abilities, they projected a series of unsettling illusions into the humans' dorm rooms. Jake woke up to find a life-sized holographic Veltraxian warrior looming over his bed. "Ah!" he yelled, tumbling out of his sleep pod. But when he tried to throw a pillow at it, the image fizzled and disappeared. "Oh, it's on now." The other humans reported similar experiences. Priya found herself surrounded by a swarm of buzzing, translucent insects, while Tariq spent a sleepless night dodging the illusion of a carnivorous plant that kept snapping at him. "Okay, they're good," Sophia admitted the next morning, "but we're better." The humans decided it was time to up the ante. Jake and his friends gathered in their common room to brainstorm. "Cephalonians are all about logic, right?" Jake said. "So what happens if we throw some good old-fashioned chaos their way?" "Define chaos," Tariq said, narrowing his eyes. Jake grinned. "We mess with their environment, something simple, but it'll drive them nuts." That evening, the humans snuck into the Cephalonians' wing of the dormitory. Armed with rolls of Earth-imported cling wrap, they set to work. By morning, every door, piece of furniture, and nutrient dispenser in the Cephalonians' quarters was wrapped in layers of translucent plastic. The Cephalonians were not amused. "This is absurd," one of them exclaimed, struggling to unwrap a nutrient pod with its tentacles. "Why would anyone do this?" "Because it's funny," Jake said from across the hallway, biting into an apple. The Cephalonians retaliated by organizing the ultimate psychological prank. They hacked into the humans' communication devices and altered the settings so that every message, alarm, and notification came with an eerie whispering sound. Jake's alarm clock now whispered, "Time to wake up, Jake," in a voice that sounded disturbingly like his own. Sophia's translator implant began speaking in cryptic riddles. Priya's holographic study notes displayed unsettling images of alien creatures staring directly at her. "Okay, that's creepy," Priya admitted, shoving her tablet away. Jake grinned. "Creepy, but clever. I'll give them that." The humans knew they needed to end the prank war in spectacular fashion. Jake had an idea that would take things to the next level. "Cephalonians are all about order and control, right?" he said. "So what if we make them think their dorm is haunted?" "That's genius," Sophia said. The plan involved a combination of holographic projectors, sound emitters, and a few Earth-style props. That night, the humans sneaked into the Cephalonians' dormitory and set up their masterpiece. When the Cephalonians returned from their evening studies, they were greeted by flickering lights, disembodied voices, and a floating sheet that moved as if possessed. "Who is there?" one of them asked nervously. The lights dimmed, and a deep, booming voice echoed through the hall. "Leave this place." The Cephalonians panicked, their usual calm and collected demeanor shattered. Several of them floated away at top speed, their tentacles flailing in terror. The next day, Toxavril summoned both groups to his office. The Dean of Earth Relations looked more frazzled than usual, his tie askew and his tentacles twitching. "This nonsense must stop," he exclaimed. "You are here to promote cultural understanding, not to torment one another." Jake tried to look contrite. "It was all in good fun, Dean Toxa." The Cephalonians, still pink from the dye prank and visibly shaken from the haunting, glared at Jake and his friends. "Your species has no concept of boundaries," one of them said, "and your species has no sense of humor," Jake shot back. Toxa sighed, his shoulders slumping. "From this moment forward, I am banning all pranks. Any further incidents will result in disciplinary action." The humans and Cephalonians reluctantly agreed to a truce, but as they left the office, Jake couldn't resist a parting comment. "For the record," he said, grinning at the Cephalonians, "we totally won." The Galactic Empire prided itself on understanding every species under its domain, but humans were proving to be an enigma. What started as harmless curiosity, studying Earth's unique cultural traits, was now spiraling into something much bigger. And the trigger for this galactic mystery? A simple molecule called capsaicin. The humans were in the cafeteria again, as they often were when chaos erupted. Jake and his friends were sharing their latest creation with the alien students, homemade salsa. Priya had convinced the kitchen staff to let her borrow a few alien ingredients, and the result was a bright red concoction with a kick that could make a grown man cry. "It's not that spicy," Priya assured, handing a bowl to a curious Veltraxian. The Veltraxian sniffed it cautiously, then dipped a clawed finger in for a taste. 1 second later, its exoskeleton glowed bright orange as it let out a high-pitched screech. It bolted from the room, muttering something about its digestive core being compromised. "That went well," Jake said, biting into a tortilla chip coated in the salsa. Toxavril, who had been observing from across the room, immediately called for security. "What is this substance?" he demanded, pointing at the salsa like it was radioactive. "It's just salsa," Tariq said, shrugging. "Tomatoes, onions, some alien peppers, and a little kick of capsaicin." Tox's tentacles froze mid-wave. "Capsaicin? You humans are consuming a chemical weapon?" Jake blinked. No, we're just eating chips and salsa." Toxa didn't look convinced. "This requires immediate investigation. Security, seize the salsa." The humans exchanged confused glances as the remaining salsa was whisked away in a containment unit. Little did they know, this small misunderstanding was about to escalate. The next day, Jake and his friends noticed an unusual number of scientists in lab coats wandering around campus. They seemed to be keeping a particularly close eye on the humans, jotting notes into glowing data pads and whispering among themselves. Sophia leaned over to Jake as they walked to class. "Is it just me, or are we being studied?" "Oh, 100%, Jake said. "I caught one of them staring at my lunch yesterday like I was eating plutonium." In reality, the Galactic Empire's scientists were in full panic mode. After the cafeteria incident, they had run tests on capsaicin and discovered that, in most galactic species, even a microgram could trigger severe reactions, organ failure, nerve damage, and in some cases, spontaneous combustion. To the humans, it was a condiment, To everyone else, it was a biological weapon. That evening, the humans decided to investigate. Jake, Sophia, and Tariq sneaked into the research wing of the academy, following a group of scientists who were carrying a glowing containment unit labeled Capsacin Analysis, High Risk. Using some improvised teamwork and a surprising amount of duct tape Jake had smuggled from Earth, they managed to access the lab. Inside, they found holographic diagrams of the human digestive system, side by side with dramatic warnings about capsaicin resistance. "What the heck is this?" Jake muttered, scrolling through a data pad. "Are they weaponizing salsa?" Sophia snorted. "That's one way to make tacos even more dangerous." Further digging revealed that the Empire was seriously considering using capsaicin as a non-lethal deterrent in galactic conflicts. The report even included the phrase, potential for aerosol deployment on unruly species. "They think we eat this stuff because we're immune to pain," Tariq said, shaking his head. "This is insane," Jake grinned. "Or we let them keep thinking that." The humans hatched a plan. If the Galactic Empire thought capsaicin was a weapon, then the humans would put on a performance to convince them it was far too dangerous to handle. The next day, the humans called a meeting with the Academy's top scientists, including Toxa. In the middle of the room stood a table with an array of Earth's spiciest foods: Carolina Reapers, ghost pepper hot sauce, and, of course, Flamin Hot Cheetos. "Ladies and gentlemen," Jake began, addressing the stunned audience of aliens, "today, we'll show you why humans are uniquely equipped to handle capsaicin and why you shouldn't mess with it." Jake grabbed a Carolina Reaper, popping it into his mouth with dramatic flair. The aliens gasped as he chewed, his face turning red. He pretended to sweat profusely, waving his hands as if his mouth were on fire. "Ah, the burn!" he exclaimed, grabbing a bottle of ghost pepper hot sauce and chugging it for good measure. Sophia and Tariq followed suit, each taking bites of increasingly spicy foods while acting like they were in extreme pain, then immediately recovering. One alien fainted at the sight. Another whispered, "They thrive on suffering." Sophia, clutching her stomach for effect, turned to Toxa. "Now, imagine what this could do to a species that's not resistant. You don't want to play with this stuff." Jake, still fanning his mouth, added, "Trust us. Humans have been training for this for centuries. You're not ready." The performance worked. The scientists, now terrified of Earth's apparent resilience, abandoned their research into capsaicin. Toxa declared it a restricted substance, banning it from all Academy facilities. The humans, of course, kept a secret stash in their dorm. As the group walked back to their quarters, Jake couldn't help but laugh. "I think we just convinced the galaxy we're indestructible." "Or insane," Tariq said. "Maybe both." Sophia grinned. "Either way, they're not touching our salsa again." Back on Earth, humans would never know how close they came to being weaponized. But for Jake and his friends, it was just another day of proving why Earthlings were the weirdest and most dangerous students in the galaxy. After months of cultural misunderstandings, questionable food choices, and several near disasters involving Earth's quirks, graduation day at the Galactic Academy of Extraplanetary Studies had arrived. It was a momentous occasion for the entire academy, as the students, both alien and human, prepared to demonstrate what they'd learned and present their species' value to the Galactic Empire. For Jake and his friends, it was a chance to prove that humanity deserved a place among the stars, despite its tendency to terrify everyone. The humans spent the morning preparing their final presentation. The Academy had given them a large, open platform in the Central Hall, where representatives from the Galactic Council, faculty, and students from across the galaxy would gather to watch. "This is it," Jake said, pacing in front of their display. "Our last chance to convince them we're not just a bunch of crazy poison eaters." Tariq smirked. "But we kind of are." Priya held up a stack of holographic slides. "Okay, let's run through this one more time. We're starting with Earth's history, then moving on to art, science, and finally, the resilience demonstration." Sophia raised an eyebrow. "Are we sure about the last part? I mean, it's a bit dramatic, don't you think?" Jake grinned. "Exactly. If there's one thing we've learned about aliens, it's that they love drama. Trust me, this'll seal the deal." As the crowd gathered, the humans took their places on the stage. Toxa Vril, the ever-anxious Dean of Earth Relations, hovered nearby, wringing his tentacles. "Please, humans, no. Incidents today. The council is already wary of your species. Jake gave him a thumbs up. Don't worry, Toxa. We've got this. The presentation began with Priya giving an overview of Earth's history, complete with holographic images of famous landmarks, historical events, and scientific breakthroughs. The alien audience watched in fascination as images of the Great Wall of China, the moon landing, and the first photograph of a black hole flickered across the display. Humans are curious by nature, Priya explained. We've always been driven to explore, discover, and push boundaries, even when it seems impossible. Next, Sophia took the stage to talk about Earth's art and music. She played a medley of Earth's most iconic songs, from Beethoven's Symphony No. 9 to Queen's We Will Rock You. The aliens were particularly intrigued by the diversity of human music, with some even attempting to mimic the rhythms by tapping their appendages or emitting sound waves. One crystalline alien leaned over to another and whispered, audibly, thanks to a translator, "These vibrations are oddly compelling." To end her segment, Sophia unveiled a massive holographic mural showcasing Earth's artistic diversity, from cave paintings to modern digital art. The audience erupted in applause, or their species equivalent of it. Tariq's section focused on human innovation. He highlighted Earth's greatest scientific achievements, like the discovery of electricity, advancements in medicine, and space exploration. "We turned the harshest environments into livable spaces," Tariq said, gesturing to an image of a research station in Antarctica. "When we face a challenge, we adapt. That's what makes humans unique." The audience murmured in agreement, though some of the council members exchanged wary glances, likely remembering the humans' ability to adapt to consuming capsaicin. Finally, it was Jake's turn. He stepped forward with a confident grin, holding a small container. "And now, for the part you've all been waiting for, the resilience demonstration." Toxa groaned audibly. "Oh no!" Jake opened the container, revealing a single Carolina Reaper pepper. Gasps rippled through the crowd as the aliens recognized the infamous substance. For humans, survival isn't just about physical strength or intelligence. It's about pushing through adversity, Jake said, holding up the pepper. "This tiny fruit, which would kill most species here, is just another challenge for us." With dramatic flair, he bit into the pepper. His face turned red almost immediately, and tears streamed down his cheeks, but he smiled through the pain. The audience watched in stunned silence as he held up his hand in triumph. The other humans joined in, showcasing their own feats of resilience. Sophia held her hand in ice water for an uncomfortably long time. Priya balanced precariously on a hoverboard, and Tariq demonstrated the human skill of solving problems on the fly by fixing a broken drone with a rubber band and duct tape. As the presentation ended, the Galactic Council convened to discuss humanity's place in the Empire. The students and faculty waited anxiously as the council members debated. "They are unpredictable," one counselor said. "Their resilience and adaptability could make them a valuable asset or a dangerous liability. But their creativity and ingenuity are unparalleled," another argued. "Imagine what they could contribute to our collective knowledge." Finally, Supreme Arbiter Zalthrex rose to speak. "The humans are unlike any species we have encountered. They are chaotic, yes, but their chaos brings innovation. Their resilience is a double-edged sword, but it also represents their potential to thrive in the face of adversity. I propose that Earth be granted provisional membership in the Galactic Empire under close observation." When the decision was announced, Jake and his friends erupted in cheers. The aliens in the audience clapped or pulsed, hummed, or flashed lights in support. Even Toxa, despite his constant anxiety, managed a small smile. "Provisional membership," Jake said, grinning. "That's not so bad." "Yeah," Priya added. "Now we just have to prove we're not going to blow up half the galaxy." "Piece of cake," Jake said, pulling out a bag of Flamin Hot Cheetos, "or maybe a piece of pepper." As the humans celebrated, they couldn't help but feel proud of how far they'd come. They had turned misunderstandings into learning opportunities, chaos into camaraderie, and skepticism into cautious acceptance. Humanity's journey into the stars was just beginning, and Jake couldn't wait to see what the future held. "Hey," he said, raising a Cheeto in a mock toast, to Earth and to keeping the galaxy on its toes. If you enjoy this video, please leave a like, share, and subscribe for more sci-fi stories. Here is another video. I know you will enjoy.